Welcome to the show, guys. It is draft week. Draft week is here, which means when it's draft week, fantasy football is here as well. We are here, guys. We have arrived, okay? I'm going to keep the content rolling here for you. In this episode, I'm talking about three running backs, particularly three players, three running backs in this case. I'm going to ask you if you should trust them. Should you trust these guys? Because they have trust issues. We need to talk about them. We need to lay out who they are and if we should trust them. They're pretty big names. So you want to know whether you should draft them or not. I'm going to let you know whether you should draft them this year because, again, there is some serious trust issues. Now, we just did an episode a couple episodes ago on consistency, right? We talk about the Cuddy formula, consistency, upside, durability, depth, and youth. You got to understand this foundation. Once you understand the foundation, you're able to know whether you want to draft a player or not. Very important. But consistency is just one of them. And these three players, the consistency is not there, particularly with one of them. And we're going to talk about that, okay? Should you trust these running backs? Now, before I get into this, guys, make sure you guys secure the 16-round draft solution pre-order right now. Use code DRAFT right now for this week. Got a special promo going 20% off. Secure the solution. I've linked it here below. 16 rounds. It is the game changer. Sleepers, breakouts, everything you need, guys, in a video training, optimal players drafted each round. This is the game changer. Scrap the draft kits. Make sure you secure it. Drop a thumbs up, and then let me know. Do you trust these three players? Which players are inconsistent that you're having trust issues with? Because this episode's about trust, right? We want to know, who do you trust this year? Who do you not trust? Let me know in the comments. Again, make it interactive. It takes 2 seconds to like the video. Let's get it to more people. Hopefully not your league mates, but let's get this video to more people because we want to spread the truth here. That's what this show is about. Non-copy and paste BS. No sheeps is here. Lion mentality, okay? Thumbs up, get 16 rounds. All right, let's dive into this. First player here I want to talk about here. Should you trust them? That's the question. And that player is Travis Etienne. I'm talking about big names here, right? The guy is currently sitting around 12th in PPR in the rankings on the Kinshipsis. Travis Etienne's a good player. There's no doubt about it. This guy was drafted as the first-round pick in 2021. He was a first-round pick, right? They love it. They wanted a running back. They didn't like James Robinson. They wanted a guy that they could believe in. The first season, he got hurt, didn't play. He's going into his third season. Last year, had himself a decent campaign, 220 attempts, 1,125 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns on the ground, no receiving touchdowns, although he did have 35 receptions for 316 yards. So you're looking at a guy, 5.1 yards per carry. The problem was his inconsistencies, right? Again, we did an episode on consistency, right? Cuddy system, consistency, upside, durability, depth, and youth. This is just one factor of the Cuddy system, right? Is the consistency. That's one. So if you don't have consistency, maybe you have upside. Maybe you're really durable. But in certain games, you don't perform. Justin Jefferson, low consistency, kind of screwed you near the fantasy playoffs. Had a couple down games, but overall, pretty solid, pretty durable, right? Just giving an example here. So when you look at a guy like Travis Etienne, I look at week 12, 0.3 points. Week 13 last year, 7.6 points. 3.2 points in week 14, 5.4 points week 18, 3.2 points in week 4. His best week was week 9 with 26.6 points. He had a couple decent weeks, but overall very inconsistent. And now you got to spend high draft capital on a guy who had, 1 year under his belt where he saw what he did and he did it inconsistently. That's a negative. I don't trust him. He's inconsistent. Although you got to understand that he's young, he's talented. He's got an opportunity here with Trevor Lawrence, who I'm a big fan of, and this Jacksonville Jaguars offense with Calvin Ridley coming back, spreading the offense, opening things up here for him, for Etienne. This one's a really, really suspect pick this year because, again, you're getting that inconsistency. You had the 1 year he was injured, the 1 year he was inconsistent. Very hard to trust. And you got to spend relatively high draft capital. You're going to have to end up spending at least a second-round pick, maybe third-round pick if you want to stretch it, 12-person league on Etienne. So the question is, should you trust him? I'm going to say no right now. Again, the ceiling is there, right? Consistency, upside, durability, depth, and youth. Consistent, no. Upside, yes. Durable, he missed his first year. So again, it's kind of like a 50-50 chance, right? Depth chart, as of right now, pre-NFL draft, they don't have anybody else, right? Like they didn't draft anybody else. So if they draft a young, talented workhorse running back, maybe it's a committee there, right? Consistency, no. Upside, yes. Durability, we don't know. Depth chart, we don't know, right? Till after the draft. And youth is there. So he's checking a lot of the boxes, but I still have a lot of question marks about Travis Etienne for right now, I'm going to pass. Okay, I don't feel warm and fuzzy. The upside, though, may outweigh the risk, right? You can say, oh, well, I'm just going to take a chance on him. If you do get him, make sure he's not your RB1. That's all I got to say. Okay, make sure you have depth and you go a robust RB if you get him. I don't fully trust him right now. I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy, although I do like the offense. I like Lawrence. I like Ridley's upside. I like the value of Calvin Ridley, right? But in regards to Etienne right now, hard to trust. Let me know in the comments what you think, okay? For the points that I stated. Inconsistent games. All right, number 2 here. This one's a big one here. A lot of people asking about Breece Hall. Currently sitting 13th on the consensus rankings. Breece Hall. Should you draft him? Coming off an ACL injury in October. Now, from what I heard, Robert Saleh, I said this in other videos, saying that he looks, quote, he looks fantastic. Now, that's a coach obviously promoting his guy. How fantastic he looks, we don't know. Now, he played 7 games. He had 80 attempts last year, 463 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Now, in the little time that he played, the 7 games, he looked pretty dynamic. Getting it done in the receiving game, 19 receptions, 218 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Getting it done in receiving, getting it done in rushing, averaging pretty high yards per carry with 5.8. Looking good. Looking like the Breece the Beast that the Jets invested high capital in, right? He's young, right? The injury happened relatively early in the season last year. There's tons of healing time. Now, we saw Saquon Barkley not hit his pinnacle a year after his injury, right after his knee tear. Usually, it takes a year to heal, but typically 2 years, in the 2 seasons after where the running back really gets in that 100% groove. Although Breece Hall is young, like super young. So there's a huge opportunity here for him to really bounce back in a strong way. Now, are they going to limit him? I don't know. There's talk about at the time that's recording, Aaron Rodgers, there's talks that he may end up with the Jets in the next week or so. That could give him a boost. They got Garrett Wilson. They've got pretty good options and good offense here on paper. So I like him, especially with Aaron Rodgers. I like the upside. I like the youth. Obviously, you're going to be a little concerned about the knee. I'm not really too concerned. Again, if he's going to play, that means he's ready. He's had a lot of time to heal. He's young. He could bounce back. He's strong. He's got the best doctors in the world. He's going to want to run. He's going to want to run strong. He's going to want to prove himself when he gets out there. My question is, I'm not concerned about him. It's about, is the team going to limit him? It depends on what the Jets want to do. If they want to win, they got to run him. If that's the case, he's gonna crush it. Now, if you're lucky, you might get him as your RB2, which is going to be good. You want him as an RB2. I don't trust him as an RB1. He's got that top 5 potential. If, again, he gets a full volume, he's running full force, which I think he should be. The only concern is the knee, but again, it makes him more of a value. If he had a good season last year, didn't have the knee injury, he'd be a top 3, top 4 pick. Because of that injury, because of the little bit of uncertainty, he has dropped down in the ranks, so you could get him in a round or 2 later than where he should be going, which is around 2 to 3. You get him around 2 to 3. He'd easily be coming off in the first round had he finished the season and not had the knee tear. Okay. Risk. Should you trust him as an RB2 and as part of a robust RB strategy? Sure. I trust him. I feel more warm and fuzzy about Breece Hall than Etienne. I think, Breece Hall is a better player, in my opinion. But again, you got that knee thing in the back of your head, which I totally understand. Just don't make him your RB1, okay? But I do like him, all right? And number 3 here, he's obviously dropped in the ranks, sitting 29th on the consensus. They brought in Jamal Williams. The guy I'm talking about is Alvin Kamara. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Alvin Kamara is a huge liability, huge risk. From what we know, guys, he is possibly facing a looming suspension. So what he did is he pleaded non-guilty to a conspiracy to commit battery, a misdemeanor, and bodily harm, guys, okay? Substantial bodily harm is the other potential charge here, which is a felony. He's got trial July 31st. Now, again, with that suspension looming, that could be a huge problem, maybe some legal ramifications there. I'm going to completely stay away from Alvin Kamara, especially when you got Jamal Williams there, who had 260-plus attempts last year, over 1,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 4.1 yards per carry. The Saints brought in Jamal Williams for a reason, and that is to cover themselves from the Alvin Kamara drama. Now, Alvin Kamara had himself a decent year last year, over 1,400 scrimmage yards, not bad, or 1,300. Well, he had 897 on the ground, 490 receiving, 4 touchdowns on the ground, 2 receiving, 223 attempts, 15 games. Had himself a decent campaign, but his touchdowns are very low. This is a guy that I think a year or two prior, remember he had that like 6 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns in one game, which was crazy. That was overinflated, and everyone drafted him higher the year after. I said, nah, Kamara's kind of past his heyday. The guy's past his prime at the end of the day, right? He's legal issues. I don't trust him. But again, his name is going to come up in the drafts. You may want to feel tempted to grab him. You know, he's going to be value, so he's coming off in the mid rounds, I would say. I'm going to not waste a pick on him at all. Again, especially because you could probably missing at least 6 games with that suspension. I would say 4 to 6 at least if something bad happens. Either way, bad. Now you're saying, well, should I grab Jamal Williams? Maybe for value, we got to see if they draft another running back, what that situation looks like after the NFL draft, how things fizzle out. But Jamal Williams could be a good value play. Do not expect 17 touchdowns from Jamal Williams like he did from last year, but could be a solid RB4 on your roster with some upside, cover some flex plays, have some big touchdown weeks. Jamal Williams, okay? But Kamara is an absolute no. Again, you may feel tempted mid-rounds to grab him. He's sitting there. You've had this trusted name. I'm going to still stay away because he's going to be in a committee no matter what with a major goal line vulture there in Williams, and he has the looming suspension, all right? So, Etienne, love the upside. Love Trevor Lawrence. Love the upside, okay? Very inconsistent last year. A bit of a concern. Maybe he gets in the groove this year. Love the upside. If you want to take a risk, go for it. I personally am having trust issues as of right now. We'll see what happens after the NFL draft. Breece Hall, love the upside. If he's ready to go week 1, I'm excited to see what he does. Alvin Kamara, heck no for me. All right, guys, there you have it. Should you trust him? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'll let you know what I think. And drop a player you're having trust issues with, okay? Pre-order 16 rounds. Use the code DRAFT. Linked it below. Thumbs up. And I'm going to keep the content rolling. Draft week is here. Let's get it. Lion mentality.